He just texted.
Recording in progress.
Problems.
What's the Wi-Fi? Is it the guest?
Probably.
Thanks.
Oh, there it is.
You gotta hop on Hotel Northland, so just moving off it.
Yeah.
Is it Sam signed in?
Are we good on the tech side, or are we still?
It says there are 3 people present, so there are Corey's joined, Amy's joined, Seth is joined, and that is all.
Take that.
Didn't say voting.
See that
You have to
computers?
click and say
Do we
return.
Present and voting.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
Maybe I need to do something.
Sometimes when I
This
open
is
it
why I
up
came
initially,
here
it
early
doesn't have
when
it
I
on
start
there.
talking.
Okay.
I guess.
Try it now.
It should be.
Krista, are you seeing that on your screen?
Mm-hmm. And I just clicked it.
Perfect.
All right, I got it coming.
Okay. If somebody needs help, let me know.
Are we good to move forward?
No,
Nope.
Ned is Ned coming?
Ned texted us and said computer problems, working on it.
Okay.
Should we?
Mark Walters, are you present and voting, or am I logging you in?
Log me in.
It's not pulling up on my screen very well, so I might as well
Julia,
try to
I'll
figure
mark
that
you
out.
in.
Thank you.
And Jenny, I'm gonna mark you in also.
Okay, I'm in civic clerk, I'm not sure what you have to look at.
Okay. Okay.
So this is, I just like
Are
when
we
I
good,
click
Melissa?
into it.
Yep, you can go ahead.
Cool. We will call this meeting to order at 5:02 PM. Item A, Zoom meeting information. Looks like that's good. Item B, roll call. I am here. Ned is, in the waiting room. I'll come back to Ned. Alder Stoyer.
I am here.
All right, Jenny Brinker.
Here?
Amy Cox.
Here.
Krista Kainanen.
Here.
Corey Mim.
Here.
Julia Nordyke.
Here.
Mark Walter.
Here.
And Ned, are you, we're just at roll call right now if you're here.
I am here, thank you.
All right, thanks, Ned. And then I also wanted to recognize Alder Stoyer. I believe this is your last meeting with us.
That's
So
it.
wanted to just express some gratitude and appreciation for all the work that you've done in your tenure on council, but especially in the last 2 years on the Sustainability Commission. It's been great getting to
I
know
truly
you and work
enjoyed
with
it.
you.
I truly enjoyed it. Hope I could add a little bit to the fabric, but I'm hoping to still stay involved in some way, so whatever that means, research, something. What do you think, Mark? Yeah?
Oh, yeah, there's no way we'll keep you down.
We'll figure something out. So, thank you, I appreciate it very much.
All right, and on to then approval of the agenda for today's meeting, March 20th. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mark Walter. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
By Jenny Brinker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Alrighty then, it's approved. On to approval of the minutes from our last meeting, February 21st. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Alder Stoyer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Krista. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. All right, cool. We will move on to, we have several informational items, but I think items 1 and 2 are, I think planning and reporting is really exciting. Hopefully everybody, if you disagree, please say so. But we're gonna both kind of take a look back at our last 2 years really quickly and just kind of assess some of the goals that we had laid out in 2022. And then we will take some time under item 2 here to talk about our next two years, 24, 25, and some of the goals. So we can go into, if you want to pull it up, it is in the attachment. So this is just basically the 2022 work plan that we put together probably approved just about 2 years ago in probably February or March. And we presented this to City Council at the first meeting of this current batch, which just had their last meeting last night. And that really lasted over the course, this work plan has really lasted over the course of the last 2 years, and wanted each work group to just give a couple-minute recap of the goals, what was accomplished, what wasn't, what did we do that we didn't lay out, what still is on the table here. And really, we have a new work group from the last time too, so that's just an exciting update in and of itself. But I'll just start quickly then with clean energy. If you scroll all the way to the bottom here, I have some of the submissions. When we look at all of the goals that we laid out in 2022, we accomplished them. The City of Green Bay, as we know, adopted the Clean Energy Green Bay Plan in December of last year, which in this working document was referred to as the Climate Action Plan. Right around that, when we passed this, approved this working plan, we had secured grant funding and everything kind of chugged along over those 2 years. I think the only pivot, just knowing what we knew 2 years ago, we wanted the plan to be done by spring of 2023. It got completed by December of 2023. I think that is a pretty reasonable pivot there. And we had mentioned city and community benchmarking. That was completed as part of the plan. So yeah, now we're excited to start some new goals, which we'll talk about in the next section. Julia, do you want to talk about climate resilience?
Can you come back to me?
Yeah.
Because I'm
Ned, healthy habitat for all.
I also have it pulled up on the screen if people want to see.
Am I on the screen?
You're not, but the work plan is, would you like to be on the screen?
No, I thought you said I'm on the screen, which I would rather not be, so that is perfect.
You're in surround sound.
So, a couple years ago, we did look at a few different project ideas as far as what we wanted to create for healthy habitat. Creating a native plants first policy for the city, establishing a no mow Main policy, developing a dark sky ordinance. We got one of those three, but we did have some work toward the native planting on city property as well, especially in partnership with Maria Otto and the Conservation Corps and the Parks Department, who has fully bought in, I think, to the pollinator corridor idea, and is actually putting out public notices right now about doing some city work in city parks for the pollinator corridor, which is pretty cool. This year, looking at I just got this computer back from being fixed, and it's kind of anyway. Looking at mapping the pollinator habitat, which a lot of work has been done again by the Conservation Corps and by volunteers. There is a link now that people can drop in their own habitat, which is pretty nice. We are also looking at promoting some of those plantings and getting more community members involved in that. And also still thinking about how could we improve our city policy when it comes to planting species that are evolved and adapted for our area, because we have some great people in place right now, but as we saw with like the pesticide policy, we had a lot of great ideas going into it. It does take some work to put together a plan, and while we have those great people here, I think this would be a good time to explore some kind of policy regarding native planting being used for municipal purposes. Also, this year, looking at establishing that pesticide policy which of course we did talk about recently with Dan Ditchite and Maria Otto, who were kind enough to put a lot of legwork into that and come to our meeting to talk about some of the work that's been done. So really looking at plantings and exploring integrated pest management versus chemical management. And I don't know, is that good enough? Would you like me to say anything more about that?
I have a couple of things to add, Ned. This is Melissa. Just as far as the native plants first policy for the city, it wasn't an explicit policy, standalone policy, but when we went through the Green Infrastructure Code amendments, there is a section that was updated that outlines that that at least 2/3 of all plants, as we're redoing plantings around city buildings, and I believe it also included for the commercial properties as well, when they do their landscaping, that at least 2/3 have to be native.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I
so
love
I
it.
mean, so
I love
that's,
that these conversations are going on all over the place. That's wonderful.
yeah, that was like almost a year and a half ago when all of that was done, so,
Wonderful.
I
Do you have
can,
examples?
I can identify the part of the municipal code and then send it, to you or include it in the minutes somehow so that, you know where to find it.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Would love to look at that.
Can we get that added under the 2024 progress to goal section, just so when this goes to council, they can see that too?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions for Ned? Story?
Hi, Ned, Alder Stoyer. Thanks for all the work you're doing. I noticed it says dark sky ordinance passed in 2022. I know
Whoa.
what's that?
I'm sorry, where does it say that?
Well, maybe that was
I think that's
supposed to
part
be
of
worked on,
goals.
but am I looking at it right?
it's on the bottom of the, bottom
Column
of the
1 through
page.
5, dark sky ordinance passed.
Oh, that's a premonition.
Is it premonition?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But the sky was
I'm just looking at the
cloudy.
target dates. Okay, so
This
I
is
don't know if
what
that's the best
happened.
wording.
Yeah, it's not what happened, it's
Yeah.
what was
No.
proposed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was, what's on the screen was from
All right.
before the discussion happened.
But is that still a big goal? I'm sure. It'd be nice, but
And that's,
industry and everything around here, I don't
yeah,
know.
that's the second part of this, is the 24, 25 work plan.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the old.
I'm trying to find what page is that on in the,
Bottom of page 2.
Yeah, just in the initial plan, how it was framed, I can see how you,
All right.
Oh, yeah,
how you
it
think
does-
that.
it is
I'll
worded
start
that way.
right
Yep,
here.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
At the time, it made sense.
so I guess what I had typed up under Healthy Habitat for All was City Council discussed dark sky in spring of 2022, but there were concerns over safety that prevented a plan from moving forward.
Mhm.
And then, no mow May was successfully implemented in 22. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not sure. Must have been an oversight, but thanks for catching that.
Other questions for Ned? Cool, thanks for the great work in that work group, Ned.
Thank you.
Jacob? All right, Julia?
Thank you, sorry. Okay, so we were working on climate resilience and adaptation, and really focusing on resilience to climate-related hazards. So related to some of the actions, I think that's the column, is outlined, so what's happened, over the last couple of years, a couple things have happened, so there's been progress made, there's been a lot, I've been working with a coastal engineer and then also a graduate student out of UW-Madison. And we had him outline local climate changes, projections, and impacts using local and state and national climate data. And we do have a summary of that. And then also he is very close to completing, we have a set of maps related to identifying specific areas and residents at risk. One is a flood vulnerability analysis, which combines flood hazard information with social vulnerability. And then we also have a heat vulnerability analysis he just completed. Like just last week, we finally got the map looking good. And that one's for Brown County, so that's an updated, that will provide us for more information for planning. And then also, right now we're very close to having a coastal flood hazard map done for worst case scenarios. So thinking about highest lake levels with the highest possible storm surge that we've seen based on what we've seen in the past, and looking at who's affected by that. So the plan for those things, those two items, is to have him present next month. So that'd be great. And it's, you know.
At this meeting?
Yes, that would be preferable. I know it's Earth Week or whatever, so that would be good. The culmination of that. And then really not so much there, that was a lot, that's been a lot. So, so identifying social, economic, and environmental risks due to these impacts, I moved to the next work plan, because that has to be thought through a little bit more. And then in terms of resilience, a lot has been done in pieces at the city level, mainly through Melissa and working with her. Originally, the goal was to develop a flood resilience plan, but that pivoted and turned into what is now the Green Stormwater Infrastructure Plan, based on council's direction. And then there's also been immense amount of progress around doing planning around the East River, including the recreational trail and actual flood mitigation solution planning, and getting grant money to do these projects. So there's a lot of momentum and a lot of on certain things that are happening right now. And then, so I think for the last plan, that is where it currently is at.
Excellent. Questions for Julia?
Will the maps be public
Yeah,
after the
absolutely.
presentation?
Actually,
Yeah.
no, and as soon as I can, get my editing done, or just feel like that they're ready to share. The heat vulnerability maps are ready, actually. And then I think the flood vulnerability analysis should be done. I mean, I don't know that Jackson parted. And then the coastal flood one is kind of the farthest one away. It's kind of new techniques to look at this stuff, and so it needs to kind of be vetted, I think, through some people. But the goal is actually to get these maps as soon as possible into the hands of the comprehensive planning consultants, and really start to think about it through that lens. So
That'll be interesting.
Do you think that's something that could be like a layer on the brown dog mapping too, like the county mapping is, I don't know if that's.
if they were willing, we can talk to their Jeff DeMay, and we can talk about whether they're willing to put those things on there.
That would be good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the
Jeff-
city
Jeff
can have that,
loves-
the city's available, like, the data is publicly available too, so the city can put it on their GIS database.
Yeah, I'm sure
or
we can get
whatever.
it onto the Brown Dog GIS, Brown County GIS, because Jeff loves to put new stuff up there all the time.
There is a hand raised.
Cool. Ned?
Thank you. Just a couple things. Julia, are you looking for citizen input on any of those, map projects that you're working on, or is that basically being done with more?
They're done.
Okay.
They're and it's like a GIS exercise to use social and economic and climate hazard indicators, and then you put them together, and it kind of shows you an index of what census blocks are the most vulnerable to that specific climate hazard, like flooding or heat, for example.
Mhm.
So there's not I think the next, in terms of if we were going to use them for planning projects, that's when it would be good to start to have input. And so, for example, like, oh wow, this place could really use some more native plants or trees. So then, you know, I think that's where that's going.
Okay. The other thing, to go back to what Mark was talking about with, just to backtrack, I looked at that page again, where it says passed by 2022 or whatever. That was the target,
Right,
Right.
was the target date that we were hoping to pass it by.
right.
And I think I just wrote it in a confusing way, like, I hope it gets passed by this
Right.
date. So
Yeah,
that's why it says passed in 2022, in that column.
I'm okay with
So
it.
hopefully that clears that up.
Very optimistic.
I can sleep tonight. I'll sleep tonight.
We should solve this climate change.
Yeah, my thought on your maps is that there could potentially be some opportunities to use that to inform like grant funding for the energy work. I know there's like a lot of like P2 grants, like pollution prevention grants, and like money that can be available for businesses to invest in energy and reduction strategies and climate improvement strategies. So I'm just wondering if there's some overlap there to maybe help secure some funding to focus on businesses that are in high-risk areas or impacting, like, I don't know the right way to say it, but like environmental justice areas, you know, at risk areas from an environmental justice perspective. So I'm excited to see how we can use that in the energy group too.
Yeah, that's really exciting because I mean, I'm not coming from the business perspective. So
Yeah.
one thing that could be done too, because it's based on census block data,
Mhm.
but is there like business data that we could use instead? And what are like the indicators? Like, I mean, you can see where if there's businesses just located in these residential areas, but it would be really interesting to
Yeah. Like I
think
even
about
think
how to identify what areas businesses are most at risk.
Yeah, or even like air emission modeling, showing like where certain emissions are gonna hit those areas that are at highest risk. That could be some good overlap.
I would say when we've been doing these specifically it came up mostly with the heat vulnerability index, our air quality, we don't have good air quality data. We have like one sensor. So I don't know where that could go, but it would
Yeah.
be really good to understand where air
Well, like
quality is varying
anytime a
throughout the city.
company applies for an air permit, they over certain thresholds have to do air modeling. So
Oh.
that would show as part of their permit application process, which I believe is publicly available, at least through a Freedom of Information request. You could see where their releases are modeled to impact and layer that on. There would be a whole nother project probably, but potentially some opportunity. That data exists
Okay.
out there and is
That's
available.
great, yeah.
And I think the EJ screen tool, the environmental justice
Exactly,
screen
yeah, it
tool,
does
has
have that.
air quality
Mhm.
stuff. I don't know
Yep.
to what extent, but.
Yeah,
um,
That
It's true.
is
I
true,
forgot
but
about
it's
that.
not,
It's
again, it's
census.
just based on this like one sensor.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna be representative or a good, it's not good enough for like what's happening.
Okay,
Yeah, it's-
across the
it's-
city.
Like you said, it's all census block data, which is pretty
Coarse.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite coarse.
Right.
Jinx.
I think
Okay,
this is a great stuff. I think, you know, like for planning purposes, you know, especially along Belt Avenue, there's a plan to develop, and there's a lot of industry there, businesses, there's things that are gonna be taken down, added. The bay is very close there as well, so I can see the mapping being very important, you know, for decision-making, especially if you build, you know, rebuild or, you know, repurpose a building, or even build a new site plan, use the site plan and build new buildings, so I think it's very important.
Do you
Thanks.
have any connection with regulators, like sharing, like DNR, sharing
Mhm.
any of that information?
Well,
I know they're somewhat limited in what they can really do.
Well, I mean, if there's a database where people have to apply for an air quality permit, then
Mhm.
that's probably publicly available. It's
Yeah,
just
they-
not even knowing that it exists and
They
then
hold
who to
it pretty
contact.
close to the vest a lot of times because
sorry?
of it. They hold it
Oh.
pretty tightly because of the legal implications sometimes with that. Is one of my neighbors was an air quality engineer for the DNR, and there are a lot of things he just couldn't talk about for some reason because it seemed like they were always in litigation somewhere. You know,
And how quickly does air quality change, I guess, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, air quality is really important when it's like the extreme heat events, and air quality comes really bad. So like last summer, when there was the smoke and then you have high heat, it's a combination that people have more heart attacks and strokes, and there's there's like very strongly correlated risk factors from that our air quality decreases when it's hotter.
okay.
And I mean,
Can I
would-
jump in?
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just gonna add on to that, piggyback on what Julia just said. I taught summer school downtown at Powell Elementary, and there were many, many days that we had to be monitoring how poor the air quality was, and several days where we couldn't take the kids outside. Personally, my asthma was terrible last summer, but the bad part was students losing out on a whole lot of community experiences because of the poor air quality downtown on those heat days.
This is a great discussion. I think we're going to talk more about maps next month. So, speaking of
Maybe we
heat, if
should.
you have any burning questions,
I'll have to be here.
yeah, but that's great. Any other questions for this? Melissa, just a process.
Did I miss anything, Philip, resilience related?
Just a process thing. Can we get like a quick paragraph added after the meeting to this work plan?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just saw, when I wrote,
Oh,
looking at the
that's
agenda, I must have missed that
That was a long
instruction.
email. I'm like, here, read this manual for this very simple thing. Can we add that?
Like, oh, I didn't do that.
A paragraph of what?
Just
My
the
summary.
2022 recap at the very bottom.
You're getting
See,
there.
you didn't even know it existed.
No, I guess I don't understand what you're asking
Keep
me to
going.
do.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going.
My section is blank.
The
and he's
2024.
asking
So
if
this
I
is
can
where-
add- If I can add in.
Yes.
When can we add in can we do that after the meeting before it goes to council under number 2?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, if you get me the information, I'll put it in there.
Cool. And then
Sounds
the
good.
addition that you've highlighted for Ned and Healthy Habitat for All about the wild planting thing,
Yep. Yeah,
that
I
can go
do
under
that.
number 3.
Okay,
Cool,
yeah,
thank you.
for sure.
Awesome, thanks for all of the great work, Julia. And Mark? Waste reduction?
Waste reduction.
Yeah.
I think we were too aggressive,
Could I
but
just ask a question?
Sure.
How are you gonna, with the council and such and committee meet, well, the committee is this, but
Mhm.
going to council, how are you gonna, are you gonna make communications or will be, kind of like you've done in the past? Is there any way, if you wanna get something across, I mean, are we gonna go through?
Are you talking about the recap part or
Well,
the new
Well, just
work plan?
anything that has to go, when we did the plan of that, maybe I probably know the answer to that, but I'm just saying, is it gonna be the same as normal, going through sustainability and then going to council? But as far as making sure nothing gets left out, I don't know.
Right.
Because I think the communications that we've lost in the past and
Mhm.
just things,
I mean, it would be published in the minutes,
Well-
what you guys are seeing, and then it's gonna go to council as an informational item for the next, for the next meeting, but as far as the action that gets
Action
taken,
items.
not until the new
Plan.
council is,
in place.
In
Oh, yeah.
place.
Oh, I know.
So yeah, for the next, when we do the 24-25 plan, I think the plan is to present to the new council. For this, I mean, I
Yeah,
think if
this
that's
is
just in the
just a recap.
minutes,
That's
yeah, but I
Okay.
think a presentation would be, which was done
Right.
last time.
You did it I think you were
They-
the first group to
Mhm.
present
Yeah, we
the
did.
new council.
That at first.
You obviously made an impact. I think it was a great impact.
And one thing we could do
You
for
don't
the,
think? I thought it was.
I thought it was
I
great.
just thought it was just too much for them. Like, there was a
Well-
lot going on that meeting.
Well, it's not gonna be the very first meeting that they're sworn in. It
I
would
think it
be-
set a good tone.
I thought it was good.
That was the direction that was
Yeah.
given, it should not be the very first meeting that they're sworn in, so sometime in May.
Mhm. But I think maybe slide 1 can just be some top lines from what we're talking about now too.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. Cool, good, great question though. Walter? Mark to Mark.
Mark to Mark. That's Marcus Aurelius.
That's my name.
Reflected in the minutes.
So, I mean,
You
the.
can call me Stephanie.
You must have siblings. So, when we put together this work plan a while ago, in '22, and the goal was to actually look at having some type of organics pilot program set up by last year. I think most of you are aware that there's been some contention in terms of how we're supposed to partner, who we're supposed to partner with in doing some of this, which kind of threw some of that into a different direction. There's still a lot that we could be doing. There really wasn't much accomplished last year or the year before on waste reduction, though it's still going to be happening. And and we'll talk more about it under the 24-25 stuff, because there is a lot of funding available, a lot of initiatives available, especially at the federal level and even at the state level that we're working on, to provide funding for organics, waste collection programs, management programs, statewide, nationwide. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to happen. Some of the programs we were actually looking at, like City of Madison, City of Milwaukee, have ended. They're no longer running those programs. They're running the same kind of problem we have here. What do you do with your organic waste on a community-wide basis? Where do you take it? What do you do? How do you manage it? It's easy enough on a one or two basis, or even a household basis, but when you start looking at, 100,000 people, and where does that all go? It becomes more of a problem. Different communities are taking different directions, but it involves a lot of funding that I think I heard from staff that we tried getting going after the U.S. Department of Ag cooperative agreement, that they said it wasn't part of their work plan at this time to start looking at that. So Corey and I have talked a little bit more about other stuff, and we'll talk about that more in the next go around. But if anybody else wants to discuss what can be done and where we can go with this, I'd be more than happy to really. I'd like to give this more legs, do a lot more with it, but yeah, we've had pulled down a couple of Facebook pages that were not working well. Some of the interactions from public that we don't want to have. So yeah.
Was the challenge more along the lines of kind of buy into the concept, or practically scaling?
I think it's more practically scaling. And the concept, I think, is fairly easy to grasp. It's pretty straightforward when you start looking at. I have data on a pilot program that the county ran, where it was just a drop-off collection program, and just the sheer impact of that on anecdotally on a household basis, and then actually the data we collected from just having a few hundred people participating in a program, and how effective that was. But again, that ended because we didn't have an end.
What comes
program.
next, sort of situation?
Well, not even that. It's not too hard to figure out what comes next. It's trying to find that next step that works. So you can establish a collection program, a drop-off program, whatever, but then what do you do with it? What do you do with the organic material you're collecting? On a large-scale basis, City of Madison's building a biodigester. That's, you're talking $5 to $8 million to handle their waste. That's kind of the far end of the spectrum on things. But certainly a local collection program, whether it's drop-off, whether it's household collections, however it works, is definitely a viable option. It's a matter of, again, where does it end up, and how do you figure that out? And that's what EPA is putting a lot of money into. And so is U.S. Department of Ag. They've got some cooperative programs that we can talk more about. So there's options. There's a lot of possibilities out there. It's just finding willing partners and taking some small steps on a municipal basis to get them up for it. So,
Questions for Mark?
I do. Have you heard of this Greener Bay compost person or outfit? I've heard good things. There's good media,
So,
but and then I don't know the ins and outs. Okay, I'm getting.
Okay. Yeah, I think Mark's explored some possible avenues, and I think there's just some ongoing conversations, so,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
I was also wondering about the non-organic side. I bring my plastic films to the wildlife sanctuary and drop them off in the bins. Are there still
Yep, and
collection?
they actually come to my facility to weigh up, and then they take them to Festival Foods in De Pere.
Oh, great.
And Festival Foods is,
It's like
that,
a regional
yeah,
collecting point.
and there are some issues with that overall collection program, more from a scaling standpoint across the United States. There's still a company called Nextrex, or Trex, which it's their Nextrex program that collects it, and that's who Festival Foods is working with directly. And they make plastic lumber. It works great. It's an incredible program. The city's getting a bench. I don't know if you've gotten a bench yet? Or
Just recently.
Five.
You're
every-
stealing Corey's thunder.
Sorry, every-
She's giving an update later on this.
Okay. Yeah, so there is a program, but on a national level, the whole initiative that was piloted in Wisconsin, which was the plastic bag and film recycling website and organization, is gone. It's no longer even a program anymore. So nationally, because there were some bad players at the large scale level, retail level, who weren't actually following through on what, they're collecting bags and then they're not actually recycling. A huge number of them were not being recycled. They were just being dumped either in landfills or a couple of them overseas. So there's a lot of issues with that program. Locally though, because Festival Foods is such a good player in this, there is a lot of, they're doing a really great job. So we have a local solution, but it's not necessarily, everybody can't necessarily do that. And there's
More to
one
come on that
downstairs in
later.
City Hall of collections program. And De Pere also has the same kind of collection program.
Is there any way we can recognize Festival Foods for that? I feel like that might make them want to keep doing it if they got
They-
recognition
Yeah,
for it.
they've been recognized statewide through the, it's called the Association, Arrow, Associated Recyclers of Wisconsin, which is our statewide recycling organization, has given them.
Mark, can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, sure, I can try to talk louder and talk this way, so.
Just so
Okay,
that
you can
everyone
talk
on this
that way,
side
I
can
can
hear you.
listen.
We're
I'm
having
older.
We're having a hard time hearing.
Yeah, and I tend to speak, if I'm not presenting, I tend to speak softly.
Carry a big stick too.
No, just
Go ahead.
plastic bags.
These plastic bags, yeah.
A bag of bags.
I was just saying that Festival Food has been recognized statewide for their efforts. There are a couple of really good collection places around the state that have done some great work, and Festival Foods certainly is one of them. They do a lot of initiatives that are that fit in the waste field really well. So we could certainly do something on a. I don't know if we have that ability to do recognition through how if that would be
We
something.
need to be
sustained.
thought out.
Yeah. Brown County used to give out
Put it on the
recycling
marketing
awards to
conversation.
Yeah, there you go.
commercial businesses.
City Hall, we collect bags at City Hall there.
Yep, that's part of the same program.
I just dropped some off when I came in.
Yeah, I did too.
We should have put it that way.
I mean, I think City of Eau Claire's Sustainability Advisory Commission does like a business award thing, so we're gonna talk about upcoming goals in the next section, so we can bench that conversation for now.
So that wasn't a goal,
Yeah.
but the plastic, I mean, that's a pretty cool,
That was-
that
was for Randy
successful
Scannell.
thing that's happening. I don't see it on the document, so I don't know
That's a good
if the
point.
continued plastics, is that on the document? And I don't know if that's something we'd want to,
On the next one?
well, I know it's not on the achieved goals,
Mhm.
those kind of notes. Progress to goal, because the plastics must have been done before these goals were set.
That just was never included.
We can just add
It was actually
add a
already in
line.
the works by the time we started putting our goals together,
Oh.
and it was an initiative by,
Alder
Scannell.
Scannell.
yeah,
That's true,
Randy
yeah.
Scannell was doing
You
it.
can use that.
Maybe we can just add like, an additional sentence under waste reduction for
Nobody can use that
for
one.
the report. Cool, awesome. And then, the last one, marketing and public outreach. When we put together this plan, that work group didn't exist, so just the creation of that I think is great. Do you have anything, highlights you want to cover from the creation on to end of last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things worth noting was the kind of conversion of our Facebook page from what was sort of the city-run page to more of a private page. So we've changed it to Sustainable Green Bay. So now folks who visit our old Facebook page are directed to the new Sustainable Green Bay page. So that was a change and accomplishment that happened over the past year or so. And then we also attended a couple of events, the Aldo Leopold event at the library last year, and then the Levitt Amphitheater, or no, just the Levitt series. Is it AMP?
Yeah.
To help promote the commission. So those were, some small achievements, but something to get us going in the right direction. And then there was a lot of conversation. What's that? Oh, yes, and we created our logo. That's right. That was another accomplishment. Thank you.
You were probably trying to block that out.
I was happy we got it done. So, yeah, am I missing anything else
As
that
far
we can
as
think of?
marketing
A
it,
lot of creative monthly ideas.
Oh, yeah,
Well-
the monthly initiatives.
I'd have to look at all that, but we have lively discussions, I think. We have a lot of good things that have come forward, don't you think?
Yes.
I think.
Yes. And I think a lot that good has got us into a really good place for our upcoming work plan. So we'll talk about that next.
Oh, awesome. Great, any questions for the marketing and public outreach team? All right, so I guess just if anybody has any additions to the work group sections that you want put into this this little progress to goal report, send those to Melissa after the meeting, and then I think the appropriate motion would just be to receive and place on file, and then this would be in the minutes for the next council meeting. Cool. And then, yeah, we'll include like a slide when we present our next work plan of just like quick recaps from the last one. And brag about all the good work that we've done. What a, just a lot of great things all around in the last 2 years. Thank you, everybody.
Just a comment, for me, I think I like to read bullet points, so I don't know if that might be a nice way of outlining that on that slide, or, because they kind of
Oh, yeah, on
read
the
together
slide.
right now.
Yeah, definitely. More top lines than the text.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's a great idea. Cool. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, we can entertain a motion to receive and place on file.
So move.
All right, by Mark W.
Second.
By Mark S. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. All right, good deal. On to the future. I'm just going to pull up the discussion and review of the 2024-2025 work plan. So again, to kind of frame this up, this will kind of coincide with the duration of our next city council, their 2-year terms. They'll get sworn in. Election's April 2nd, they'll get sworn in sometime in April, and then sometime May-ish, we'll do a presentation about all the great things we plan on doing. Melissa, would you like me to take notes on any discussed changes on like a working doc and then send it to you? Or what would the best way to do that?
Yes, that would be good.
Cool.
If
And
you
I
would do
will
that.
leave suggestion mode on. Cool, well, we'll start, kind of the text up top is the purpose of the document, and the process is virtually the same as last time. I just added that it will coincide with the 2-year term. So the new clean energy work group, Krista, Jenny, and myself met to discuss these, and do either of you want to walk through this, or?
Did you say no?
No, I'm not at the but
I guess I wasn't prepared to either, but I remember us, that's all written down there. Our next actions. The Clean Energy Green Bay. Tracking, oh yeah, we were going to develop maybe methodologies to assess the Clean Energy Green Bay implementation. So we've got the plan, but we don't necessarily have an established plan for collecting data, looking at our goals and how we're tracking to meet those goals. So we had a bit of a discussion that we should probably set up a plan, organize a business and industry working group. I love this idea that you had, because we have a lot of industry in Green Bay, so we thought of forming a group using the industries to maybe share information, and not only industry, but also some businesses in there too. These are great ideas we came up with.
I know, right?
It's
It's that Kavarna coffee.
That's right.
Tea, you're on tea.
Sustainable, carbon neutral jet fuel.
Support energy education, employee in community education and outreach for residents. So we have the new employee that will be established, so we can feed them information from this group. I think that's what that means.
And that person will also be doing outreach with small businesses and nonprofits, not just residents, so.
Awesome, that would be great. Maybe they can help to serve on that industry business group if we get that established. Provide support for city operational projects and upgrades, basically be a resource support for helping energy efficiency and renewable energy.
Especially people with really good technical expertise on the commission.
We can help with the resources.
And, I think one other, and this isn't necessarily in the plan, but Ned might recall pre-COVID, our clean energy work group was a couple members, non-quorum of the Sustainability Commission, but then folks in the community as well. And we would meet, quarterly at Kavarna, the big long table in back. So I think we're gonna meet again to kind of work through some of these goals a little bit more, but I think we also want to kind of expand some of the participation from the community so we can have more people a part of the great work. Anything else to add on the goals, Kristen?
No. I think I would just say I think it's a nice holistic approach to kind of the three of the big contributors to greenhouse gas emissions, right? With industry, residents and small businesses, to your point. And then the city emissions kind of, I think, holistically supporting implementation of the plan and the clean energy goal. And these are just kind of next steps in support of that.
And we put a couple target dates. I think by the end of this year, having kind of a tracking template reporting kind of developed conceptually makes sense, and then putting together a business and industry work group. I feel like that's a big task. So just over the course of the next 2 years, and then everything else is just kind of ongoing. So
I have a question. For the tracking and reporting methods, it's really to develop a process or some kind of tool to track the progress of the plan implementation. It's not necessarily a tracking tool for the greenhouse gas emissions.
correct.
Okay.
So like, do we do a?
Because like right now, for our buildings, we use Energy Star Portfolio Manager. For our greenhouse gas emissions inventory, we use the EPA tool. We're exploring, we don't know if we'll get the grant or not, but the ICLEI tool, which a lot of other cities use, which will help track emissions as well. And it has more reporting modules, and it'll just be a little bit, I think, a better tool if we're able to get that, so. But as far as, yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that you're not
Yeah, it
doing
sounds like
something
those would
already
all be
that
like
we're.
inputs into, you know, tracking progress. So like if you say,
Mhm.
you know, these were all of our emissions from these
Right.
sources, or these were our emissions reductions,
Mhm.
being able to capture that kind of holistically into, compared to our goal of, you
Right.
know, neutral by
Yeah.
2050, how are we doing?
Well, and one of the things that I've been thinking about, because the city joined the Green Tier Legacy Communities, it'll be 5 years, later this year, it'll be 5 years. And that was an initiative, I don't know who introduced that within the Sustainability Commission, but there's an annual heavy report.
Yeah.
So this group could potentially broaden that tracking and, you know, to contribute to some of that, because there are a lot of things that have to be reported on within that annual report. And last year was the first year Green Bay ever did it.
AKA you.
Are
Yeah.
you, so,
Yeah, so if there's any inputs that, you know, and I can send you the list of everything that they look for. And some of these things we're doing as a city and some of them are not. Sometimes it's just, you know, we did an initiative like the Next Trek Challenge, you know, so we're able to check that box and put some quantitative numbers behind that. But it's such a broad sustainability report. It's not just energy, it's water, it's stormwater, it's, you know, includes green infrastructure, it includes how much green space we have, how many bike lanes. I mean, so there's city staff that I'm reaching out to for all of that, but because it was initiated by the Sustainability Commission, there might be a way of involving members of the Sustainability Commission into that report.
I
You know, to
mean,
help with some of it.
I think there's potential to align with that as part of the energy, but there might even be space for another working group, it sounds like, to support reporting under
Right.
that if,
Right, so it's due
Sounds
at
like
the
it's
end
a-
of this month.
okay.
Next year.
And I already
Next
asked for a 1-month extension, like I'm doing my taxes, you know, like I need an extension.
So you need
now it's
support
the end of
this
April.
year
So
as
now it's
well
the end
as
of
next
April.
year? Is that what
Yeah,
I'm
when I get
hearing?
back from vacation, I'm gonna send out my requests, and so if there are things that I think you guys could help with, or at least copy a couple of you on it, so that you know the breadth of what we report on.
Yeah. And it can be, I don't know what the rules are about this, but it can be an unofficial work group maybe this year,
Yeah.
and I can say
Yeah.
you can, I'm happy to contribute to this.
Yeah, so I was surprised when I stepped into the role, they were like, you know, Green Bay's never submitted a report. I'm like, what report?
It's too bad it's-
I'm familiar with that one, so.
I'm learning about it, so we can talk about it maybe afterwards, so I'm learning about that tool.
Okay.
Madison uses it, Dean County uses it.
Which
There's-
tool?
It's
Can you
called
s-
the
can you
ICLEI
spell
tool.
it?
I can't- It's an acronym.
Yeah, I figured.
It's ICLEI.
I think I have heard of that, but I don't know what it is.
And I've heard of
Seems
other
familiar.
cities using something called Cerus.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
stay tuned.
Okay.
Will we be able to see that report when it's completed? Will it be going to council, or how does
Nope,
it?
it doesn't go to council. It is a very, like, you do it all online. If you print it out, it doesn't look nice.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
It would be a great thing to be able to translate into a dashboard, an eventual dashboard within our website to say, you know, this is like a holistic view of the different things that we're doing. You know, that would be like, you know, the goal.
It doesn't allow you to do, really?
Would you just have to manually take everything as, like, fill it out twice and then turn it all into
It's
something
like filling
else?
out a table and then putting in, you know, like all these supporting metrics that you know.
So
that-
it'd probably be more like you have an
It's
Excel
not
document
pretty.
of your metrics or something, and you can use that to generate
yeah.
some dashboarding,
Yeah.
but
Sounds
it's.
like a good internship.
Ooh, there
Yeah.
you go.
We did not get the intern from UWGB that we were hoping to get, so
Oh.
right now I'm without an intern. Yeah, I know, I was really hoping for that spring intern.
So if anybody's watching. Forgot
Well,
what
it was
my-
paid for by UWGB, so that
Oh,
was
was it paid internship?
paid internship
Oh.
through UWGB. Mhm.
It's competitive out there for
Yeah,
students.
for sure. Anyway, that's all I wanted to ask about the tracking, just to be clear, you know, that it's tracking progress towards the goals of the plan, so.
Great. Any other questions on the clean energy part? Cool. And then I just made a small edit on the energy education employee to reflect that to the whole community. Cool. Julia?
Okay, so I'm sorry, after I put this together, I was like, I really should have talked to you, Melissa, before I did this, submitted it and stuff. I'm
All
sorry.
right, we can make changes.
I didn't get your input, well, I'll get it now. Sounds like.
No, I don't know if I'll have, you know, like, if this is enough time for me to respond to it, because I didn't,
Sure.
okay.
I just,
got it yesterday.
I moved, because where I was doing, you know, you heard about the mapping, so I wanted to take that to the next whatever level that is, and I just moved identify social, economic, and environmental risks due to the projected impacts. And then I think a big action is to try to integrate their commission's sustainability goals into the comp plan. And then I just generally, I put in identify opportunities that to continue to to increase resilience through greening the city. I think like whether it's native plantings, like the habitat stuff, or more green infrastructure, or trees, you know, they're really cross-cutting. They're gonna help with a lot of things, and they can be counted for carbon emissions for the trees, and they can help with habitat, and all sorts of things. So I put that in there as a next thought about looking, now that we have some information about maybe where to put them, to start thinking about where we can do more strategic projects. That's all I think that's basically what I have. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, and then I did change, I guess I changed the title, the name of the work group to Climate Resilience instead of Climate Resilience and Adaptation. I like simplicity better. And then I changed the goal just to, I think I changed the word of the goal. I just wordsmithed the goal a little bit more in general. So, yeah, Mark Walter used to be on this group with me, and then Krista really wanted to, but because of my lack of leadership, she went to the energy committee work group. I lost her. So I don't know if anyone wants. I'm not sure I'm again the best leader, but I'm happy to. Melissa, I work with you pretty closely on a lot of this stuff, so
I
if
know.
you want to get together and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I really would have liked your input in terms of like what, I kind of hear bits and pieces, but what you would like to see would be helpful in there. I will say, just related to the general goals and principles for each issue area, like when I think about the goal and the action specifically for this year, I'm really trying to hit upon, from my position on the Sustainability Commission, like the racial justice and equity piece, and then also the data-driven research stuff. So that, the other things haven't come in notice, but those are kind of driving it. So that's why we focused on like social vulnerability in general. I'm trying to identify the places in the city that could use more investment.
Okay. I do have just a general feedback for the layout of this plan, Seth. If you could have, and I'm thinking like a commission member and a council member right now, but all of the headers, they should follow on to subsequent pages, because it is literally impossible to know. Are you talking about an action right now, or are you talking?
I do feel like there's a lot of columns.
I think it needs to be cleaned up, because I don't think that it's easy to digest,
To follow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can mess around with that a little bit and then send you a cleaned up version of it.
Okay. And I will need to get this published before I leave on Friday, because I will be gone all of next week.
So,
And I will not be
if you want
working
to send me a copy to work on,
on vacation.
I've been an editor for 25 years. So,
Okay.
yeah.
That's good to know.
I'm really good at cleaning other people's work up.
That's very
I always get myself in trouble with other people's work.
It ended up by default.
All right, are we still on resilience here?
I think we're on healthy habits.
All right, Ned, on to you.
I think, did I kind of go through it all when I first talked? I feel like I blew through both years, and go through it again, but Healthy Habitat, for the next couple of years, looking at assisting in recognizing pollinator habitat plantings by the Civilian Conservation Corps and other groups, or the Green Bay Conservation Corps, and helping with the mapping project. That's a big one. Looking at the Natives First policy for the city. I included some draft language about that on the far right column. And our pesticide policy, which I included the draft from last month's meeting. So as far as doing the survey, that link is on the page as well. So for anyone who would like to help promote that, we could, that's being put out to citizens just to put in any plantings that they know of or that they have in their own yards or neighborhoods that are full of native plants for the pollinators.
Cool. Questions for
Yeah.
Ned?
Yeah, sorry, Ned, can you explain again what the survey is for? It's to ask people to identify areas for native plantings or their own areas that they are planting native plants?
It's to map the areas that are already planted.
Okay, so on personal property.
Correct. Personal property, or for example, like I've done work on school property or along Fox River Trail. Like those would be places you could put in as well.
Is it with, Ned, is it the same thing that has like the form too that you fill out? Like that goes along with it?
There is a form, yes.
Okay, it's very complicated, just so you know, for like an app. It's complicated for me and I know what I'm kind of what it's about, but there's it does say skip the things you don't know, but it is, it's not an easy form to fill out about your project or your planting.
Yeah, I think I'm not familiar with the technology. Definitely, I think Maria put in a lot of good work on that aspect of it, but I can give that feedback.
It's not the technical pieces, it's like the technical language and questions
Okay.
that are included.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it does say skip what you don't know, but it's like, yeah.
I wonder if you kind of tied into the planned natural landscaping paperwork that needs to be completed by the city, so you might kind of already have, I haven't looked at it myself to see what you're referring to, Julia, but, maybe some of those questions align with what you're already providing to the city, so you can have that on your property.
The question I would have about that would be, we wanted to make this voluntary, to be put on the map, and not necessarily like everyone who is enrolled has to have it on the map, because they might want, for privacy reasons, not to include it. So I'm not sure if that's, maybe there's a way that they could click a yes, please include this in the map when they apply. That could be something that we could do to make it easier for people. But yeah, if there's language in there, any feedback would be great. Julia, if you have like specific feedback that you want to send to me, and then I can connect with Maria, or I think she was kind of in charge of that piece of it. I can certainly pass that on.
Is it the link that's in this, that says Pollinator Quarter Survey 2024? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, and my comments are related to like, if you really want people to do it broadly, it needs to be easy to do. You know what I mean? So.
Mhm.
Cool. Any other questions, comments, edits for Ned? Alrighty then.
Oh, I do have one comment that I know I've shared with some other folks working on this, is just the idea of having like cohesive signage too, perhaps, and maybe not on the private sites, but maybe so, like, maybe we create something like a No Mow May, or, you know what I mean? Like, if people want to make other people aware of what they're trying to accomplish by doing this planting, maybe that's one way of doing signage, but then also, like, when we're doing the plantings in parks, it would be nice to have, you know, the same type of signage, not only in parks, but maybe other public places where this all kind of comes together, I think. So when people see a planting, they can associate it with that if people are trying to achieve this as part of their goal, this goal.
Well, one thing I would say is, you know, there's an organization called Wild Ones, and people that are in that, they have specific signs that they put in their yards for their native plantings. So this is kind of already, you know, people do that. It's available, so I don't know if we need to like create a whole nother
Maybe
standardized.
point people toward that or something.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
use it as a resource. If people are asking like, hey, I want to do a plant natural landscape, you know, Wild Ones would be a great resource for them to reach out to, as well as far as like specific plants that they might want that work in their yard. They're similar in some ways to Master Gardeners in that they have volunteers and their people are really invested in the topic of native plants. So that's just another thought of, you know, or partnering with Wild Ones on something.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't know all of their initiatives, if they go beyond pollinators and other
They do
directions.
plant sales,
you know?
yeah, they, I don't know about the local chapter, but the Fox Valley chapter is very active.
Yeah, the Green Bay chapter has been active for sure, but if we could ask them, we have had our own signage for the pollinator corridor in the past. You can see it at the corner of Baird and East Mason. You can see it at Whitney Park. Trying to think of anywhere else off the top of my head, but you know, if we were to maybe update it, we could include some kind of a QR code for if people wanted to put in their own thing, or I don't know. I mean, we could play around with some ideas for sure on signage and see how we could go about perhaps raising some grant money, something like that, to pay for them.
Any other thoughts on that, or other questions for Ned?
I'm learning so much. I'm like,
All right, then on to Mark.
Waste reduction. Well, so actually, my partner over here and I had explored, we got some information last fall about doing compost bin sales through the city. It's a statewide program that comes out every year. And just given the time frame, everything else, the fact that you have to invest up front and buy them, Corey and I talked about that and said, it seems like a really good idea that we should actually at least start that conversation in the city of Green Bay and say, yeah, I know there have been compost bin sales in the past through the county and through Master Gardeners, but they didn't really get very far. We would like to explore that option then for 2025. So what we're going to have to end up doing is get the city to agree to invest, it's probably about $1,000 on bin purchases up front and then having to sell them. And there's some logistics that have to be worked out on that in terms of, you know, where Parks Department, right? You're going to store them and sell them.
I'm not promising anything.
Yeah. So there are some complications to be worked out with that program, just in terms of, like I say, there's money up front that has to be spent to actually buy the compost bins, and it's a statewide sale through a nonprofit out of Stevens Point that does this with a lot of counties, a lot of cities throughout the state, and they've been doing it for a long time. And the bins they sell are great. I mean, I've used them for a long time. Actually, my son in Madison has one from the same program that came with the house, and it's probably 20 years old and still works. So that's one of the initiatives on a short-term basis that we can certainly take a look at doing and start getting a different conversation going in terms of how do we deal with some of the waste that's in the city's waste stream. As we are sitting here going through this, we also will definitely, and I have some of this typed up, Melissa, in an email to myself so that I'll remember what I was thinking about. We definitely should be supporting the bag collection program as not necessarily a Sustainability Commission initiative, but certainly a program that the city is doing that is worth noting. And I guess the question would come back around is, are there other opportunities in the city, locations that could be collection points? Because right now it's Bay Beach and here, City Hall are the two collection points, right?
The
For-
wildlife sanctuary, yeah.
The Wildlife Sanctuary,
Mhm.
yeah, for the Next Trex program, right? Are there any other
Well,
locations that
we
would be?
probably should update you on
Sure.
something.
Yeah,
That's it.
so, so we've reached our fifth bench, goal, which is great. But thank you, everybody, for donating your plastic. We haven't determined where the fifth bench is going to be going yet, but we will. But with that, we've decided to wrap up that challenge,
Okay.
and mainly it's due to capacity for our staff. And so for that reason, I don't see us expanding anytime, now. Not to say we couldn't sometime in the future, perhaps, but for park staff, it's more than we can handle at this time. So we're happy that we were able to help with the challenge and to get the benches, but yes, we're going to wrap it up for now, but everybody knows.
It's ending at the end of this month.
Yes, at the end of March.
In March, okay.
But we do know there are other great resources such as Festival Foods, I think
Pick and
Walmart
Save.
or other areas, yeah. but
I don't think
Well,
Walmart does it anymore.
What are the bad ones
Okay.
that you're not supposed to go to? Now I'm
Walmart-
insecure about where
Basically,
every-
Walmart and Target were taken off the list.
But
They
Pick
were.
and
Okay,
Save, Pick and
too.
Save participates in that program, and so does Festival Foods.
Would you-
So does Home Depot.
Yeah, they're,
Maybe not participating in the program, but would you, parks, consider just continuing to collect it at those locations and dropping it off at festival?
Or is that
that's-
the
that's-
problem?
You have to
that's
weigh
the
it, though, and you
No,
have to.
but I don't, they wouldn't have, because they're not part of the program. So they it's just a collection.
And they're just driving the truck over our scale, looking at the weight and then driving down
Yeah,
the
I
festival,
mean,
so.
the thing is
Yeah, it's more than
we're
that.
continuing to develop new parks and to expand, and we're not getting more staff at this time. We hope to help, but like with the shipyard development, with the JBS development, with a lot of other things we
Right.
have going on, we just don't feel that that's our highest priority for our department at this time. So, sorry to have to break it to you.
Is there like an exit strategy to help tell people where to put stuff?
I believe it's already been posted on our website, or do you know where Shelby was gonna be?
Shelby's gonna be, we're gonna have Facebook posts that are alerting people that the City Hall and the Wildlife Sanctuary, we're at the end of our program. The messaging is, we've already vetted the messaging, and so I believe that if it hasn't started already, it will be very soon.
There-
Yeah, it was online, because I
Okay.
made sure to remember my bags today.
Okay.
My last go at it.
There are some caveats on that in terms of what you might be telling people to do, because the plasticbagandfilm.org website that had a list of all the drop-off locations no longer exists. And it only went down 2 weeks ago. It was taken
Great.
offline. Now, if you actually look that up, it goes to the American Chemistry Council's website, which is the Plastics
Plastics Council.
Plastics Council, yeah, but they don't have a list of locations for drop-off anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of trying to find them and trying to figure out what you have to do. So there are resources that aren't there anymore.
Is Brown County working on that to get like some local, like a
local-
vetted list of local?
We are actually, we don't, it's always Tri-County now. All the
Tri-County.
stuff we do now is all
Sure.
Tri-County, but we are working on that. Because our Waste Wizard tool, the web online Waste Wizard actually had links to those pages, and now we're looking at what our other options are for them.
Okay.
Right now it's, check locally with your retailer store, because some of them have bins, but they're not actually going anywhere, because they just didn't take them out of the stores. But yeah, Pick and Save,
Mhm.
Metro Market, Festival Foods, I know Kohl's, I don't know if Kohl's still has it or not.
Are there returns?
Do they still have them?
Mhm.
Okay, so,
You're going to return an item that's in that back part of the store.
okay. So we're working on trying to get that local, actually, we're trying to get it statewide through Arrow. Because everybody wants to know where it was. And Wisconsin was the pilot state for the whole program, and now it's not running. So there's a definite need for it. But again, it's one of those things that if you tell people to go, you've got to be kind of, for better or worse, send them to Festival Foods. That's kind of the best option. We know they're doing it properly. I can't speak for any other retail chains right now. That's.
All right, good to know.
The other part of all of looking at all of this is, like I said, I was making some notes for myself in terms of where we could go. We also need a baseline of how much garbage is generated by residents in the city of Green Bay. I have that data. I have that. I can tell you how much is collected per household, per person. I tabulate that
That
every
is
year.
a metric that I need to report on.
Ding, ding, ding.
I just,
That sounds like a good one.
Because, I went last year when I did the report, which was rushed. I had a very compressed time to do the report. And so we went by our tipping fee, like how much we were tipping. So I went with that number. But if you had more granular data, that would be even better.
yeah, definitely, because we track it that way.
Okay.
For every community in our
Mhm.
county,
Okay.
and I actually just reported that out yesterday to somebody else, so. Yeah, so I've got a note here to myself to make sure that I was gonna do a 5-year look back and see how much, what kind of change there is, because unfortunately, most waste looks like it's going up, garbage. We took a big uphill surge during the pandemic in garbage generated per households, and it's kind of gone down a little bit, thankfully. But that's something we need to look at. What I don't have necessarily is yard waste, because that's part of the equation we have to look at, how much yard waste does the city report is being generated. And there is a report online through the Wisconsin DNR. Every year, the city, every community has to report to DNR what they've recycled, and that's part of that report. I have
Yard waste, you're talking about.
Well, it's recycling garbage and yard waste all within the state's recycling reports. I have, because the county kind of oversees all this, DNR has given me access to all the municipalities' data, so I can go in there and look at that, and I'll pull that together for the city. And then just see, taking an estimate of organics out of there, are there some other options? But anyway, there's some other things we can take a look at. I can take a look at this next quarter, next half of the year, and kind of see about establishing a baseline for
Right.
what we're.
So the data that I'm looking for is for all of 2023.
Yeah, I've got that. We'll keep working at it, and since we're not going to support bag collections at the city, but it is an exciting time to be involved in this organic waste reduction, because there is just a ton of stuff happening at the federal level through the bipartisan infrastructure law. I mean, there are literally billions of dollars in grants available through EPA and USDA to do pilot programs, which can be really, what I just talked about in terms of a baseline study, there are grants just to do that by itself.
But
the problem is there's always
It's
a
a good
match.
problem, but we do not have the staff to
Yeah.
even implement, because some of the programs, they're looking for huge implementation type pilot programs. But even just having the staff available to now implement a new grant-funded program, that's a huge challenge for us.
But could you write that into grant application, funding for a staff person perhaps?
The USDA cooperative agreements are actually
Mhm.
probably the best ones, because they don't require, they're providing the technical support, the staffing for a lot of the programs that you're trying to outline and implement down the line. So they're actually specifically aimed at starting up new programs and helping get those going. The EPA grants are much larger and much more complex, and truthfully, if you don't have to apply for and administer an EPA grant, I wouldn't do it.
I'm in the middle of it right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't, if it's not under, if it's under like $200,000, I wouldn't even apply for an EPA grant, because it's just not worth the administrative costs. It's just, they're too cumbersome. So, yeah, see, you probably know that. anyway, there are a lot of things we can look at out there, and I'll shape up some of these and send it to Seth and
Okay.
put them in. Cool.
Yeah, if some of those I'll update. All right, any other questions, comments for Mark here? Excellent. We'll move on then to the marketing and public outreach team.
Well, we had some lively discussion on a few of these things. Looking at it from a municipal standpoint, I like the fact that we could work with the neighborhood associations. I think we had talked about that. In fact, I'm on a new one. We just got it implemented yesterday, the Murphy Park Neighborhood Association. And there's like 40, how many do we have in the city now? Maybe 40, 42. But
Yeah, it's a
what I'm
lot.
saying is it's a good program to get the word out about us, about anything, you know, and a lot of these neighborhood associations are looking for projects, and there's grant monies available to them to do things, so it can be any number of things. I'm the treasurer for this new group. Why they picked me, I don't know. I
For
like
Murphy
one-
Park?
For Murphy Park, I'm the treasurer. Thank you very much. But anyway, so that was a big thing, you know, I thought. And I think we, you know, you can chime in too, as anybody else on that. But I think we looked at the Conservation Corps as well. You know, doing work with them as far as like Earth Day things or anything on that line, you know, relishing on what they are and what they're doing. You know, I thought we talked about that.
Yeah, and with that, we kind of came up with the idea of really perhaps the whole commission getting involved in like a service type project, but to like partner with somebody who's already doing a project. And in this case, you know, we were thinking, yes, the Green Bay Conservation Corps. And so I did reach out to Maria to try and coordinate something, and we haven't connected yet on that, but yes, I think some sort of Earth Day event and kind of promoting the commission as supporting them, and if y'all are available to assist that day, that would be great. Just to kind of show the community that we're out there putting in the hard work too, beyond just this meeting, and the work groups and, you know, that sort of thing, to sort of get people excited about that.
I think another point we had here, talking about budget items, you know, I've talked about that in the past, you know, trying to see if we could get an agenda item, and I know we met with Director Grenier on this, and it seems like from that standpoint, they're looking at the fact that we are a commission, that we're, you know, the Public Works, and then we're part of underneath all of that. So we were, you know, I think we weren't being vindictive, not vindictive, but we weren't looking at overturning anything. We just thought, you know, it'd be nice to have a little bit of monies available so we could do some things. And it just seemed like, well, if you need something, you could go through us. So I don't know how to really pursue that as far as with the city. But that's something, so it seemed like we hit a little roadblock there, at least in my mind's eye. So I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah, and I think there's just some concern about what actual actions should the commission be taking, you know what I mean, in what regard, and what does that all mean? And so, I think that's why there was, you know,
Well-
some
But it's
some
not-
more.
There's no
talk
precedent
needing to
really
happen.
for
Right.
an individual committee or commission to have its own budget.
Right.
Right.
That's the issue.
Mhm.
That's one of the issues, is that, so, you know, and then it was, you know, look through the stormwater utility. So if it connects to a stormwater utility issue, or, you know, some of the things that we report on for our, you know, under our stormwater permit, then we could make that connection, but it wouldn't be like, here is your table and chairs for the Sustainability Commission. It would be, you know, we can buy these things, but then, you know, we just have to share, you know, they have to be shared, they'll be stored at DPW, you know, so it wasn't a hard no, it was just, we have to make this work so that it's, you know, it's just not a,
separate.
I think it's like
Separate thing.
it's a disconnect though, because like the goal of this work group is just to support the city's initiatives in sustainability and to do anything, which is just like, there isn't that happening. Like, that's just not happening in any space. And then, you know, it takes money, resources and money to do that, to elevate it to the level. You're talking about, I mean, you're hiring, you know, an energy person to actually go work in the community, but there's just a lot that the city's doing, and it's like, it's really hard to find information places. It's, you know, not really, it would be, you know, if you want to build support for our initiatives, then we need to, like, actually, you know, talk about the good things that the city's doing. Not just the stormwater stuff, but all these good things in one place. So, otherwise, yeah, and it just does take some resources, you know. So, if you know, it's not really, maybe it's just like us just starting the conversation in general about budgets. Like, I don't feel like it's a budget for the Sustainability Commission. I think it's more of a budget for communicating sustainability for the city in general. So, and then we're here to advise that and help, you know, make those small steps towards doing those things. We're trying to push that into how we communicate to the broader community. So that's where that is. I suggested, you know, the budget item is more complex, but one easy thing to do, and it's very easy to not do this, is add a communication budget line item in all grants. That can go towards Facebook, social marketing, or, yeah, so, and like, and
I think a
stuff
lot
like
of
that.
staff do that, you know, when applying for grants. They put in their communications and outreach plan, and then there's money allocated in those lines.
Okay,
I'm not sure how the city's Facebook pages are set up though, Julia,
Yeah.
where we pay or not pay, and I really don't know what the city's stance is on paying for the digital advertising.
Yeah, so, you know, and then from a realistic 2024 perspective, you know, you're like paying for Facebook, like for an event, like one of our the East River events, putting, you know, $20 towards getting that out into the community through Facebook is really just like the equivalent of putting a postage stamp on a flyer and sending it to them in the mail. It's getting it in front of eyeballs. And it's like the current way you get information in front of people. Like, it's like really straightforward. It's not, so I think it's just a conversation to start and really think about, you know, going to an event and maybe talking to 5 people, like, is that really worth the time? Is that doing, of people in general, so really trying to be more strategic and like what could be communicated better about the goals and the benchmarks, like what's going on, and then the achievements, and then a resource, like for what's going on and where community members can do stuff too, so.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge because, you know, there might be 7 or 8 different commissions out there, not, you know, the major committees, but, and so I guess we're lumped that way, that we're with everybody else, and they're just reporting and doing things without a budget. They're just, you know, it seems like there's a lot more activity here. And I'm not saying that because just we're on this commission, but it just seems like there's a lot more activity that needs to be addressed, and we can say, well, wait a minute, you gotta stop and you gotta stay here. And I don't know, I'm not a real big fan of that. So, of course, I won't be speaking much on it anymore that way, but I think that we need to appeal to the forces out there, and the powers that be. I think we could do better that way.
So it sounds like one of the challenges is where budgets live, is maybe like where would that money live within the budget, maybe even as much as or maybe more than whether or not a budget is appropriate.
Yeah.
Does the city have like a communications budget, or does that all go through the departments like DPI or?
Do you know, Corey?
Public.
I don't think we have a general communications budget.
I don't know.
Does
You might know.
every department do their own thing?
Yeah.
Somewhat? And then
So that's
IT
maybe part of the
Yeah.
challenge. Sustainability is really holistic. It crosses a lot of boundaries.
Right.
Yeah.
So where should it live? Companies
Yeah.
face the same issues,
Right,
the same
right.
challenges.
And since Sustainability Commission, it falls under DPW, you know, that it's like, okay,
Then you're working within the limitations
Right,
of the
you know,
DPW
so part of it's the
perspective.
structure, part of it's
Yeah.
structure. It doesn't, it's not just this, like, we don't wanna do this, it's
Yeah.
the structure of it all and who pays for what, and I'm sure it's a much, much larger discussion, and it really needs to really, in my opinion, it's like a director level,
Right,
leadership level,
I understand.
decisions that need to be made.
I agree
Mhm.
to a point, but it's not like we were asking for the world either.
Right.
I think we said like $2,000 initially,
Mhm.
you know, so it's,
And then
we work on a lot bigger issues, a lot more monies and a lot of
I
different
want your
agenda
budget.
items.
But I mean, it was stated that some of those materials were completely fine.
2,000.
When
Well,
Valerie
perhaps.
was, yeah, it was. Not every single
think that's
thing
great.
maybe
As much
was
as you want.
eligible, but some of,
Well-
some of them were, it's just.
Well, I think
Get in with the
what
right-
we were asking for is like Sustainability Commission related marketing, and
Mhm.
what we were
That's good.
given was City of Green Bay,
Right.
or maybe DPW, I don't know if it's specifically City of Green Bay marketing. So, which, yes, we can market with that, but to try and promote the commission more, we felt it would be nice to have materials and resources that are
Mhm.
more commission focused.
I wonder if there would be opportunities through other avenues besides the city to fund some of that, like I think, like downtown Green Bay or whatever that.
The thing
Yeah.
is the commission is an official
know.
committee of the city. So now you're acting more of like, we're a nonprofit or we're a club and we're going, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are also structural
Yeah.
Right,
limitations
so
around
that's why-
where we could get funding.
You know, let's say an event was being held and it's like, well, the Sustainability Commission is gonna do a tabling event and it says Sustainable Green Bay. Well, Sustainable Green Bay is not the Sustainability Commission of the City of Green Bay.
Yeah.
That, you know, that's a Facebook,
No.
that's the name of a Facebook page.
Yeah, but that's just because it was, I mean, that's not like the best example, because when we would go out, we would do, if we're doing events as the commission, it's all about the city. Everything is related to like
We
the
have to
city for
relate it
sure.
to the city.
Mhm.
The only reason we couldn't call the Facebook thing, because it is a private thing, so that was more the reality. I mean, I really do think like the crux of the thing is like, there's no good, you know, whatever the way we get to it, it's like, you're limited. Okay, this Facebook page is basically useless. I mean, the private one. I mean, you know, 10 people looked at stuff, because you're not paying for things to get promoted and stuff like that. So I think if you just want to be, like, for the commission, to meet like the sustainability goals for the whole city, like there just need, and then we are just here as, our work group is really just trying to be a resource and actually help bring capacity to do those things, but we just don't have anywhere to go with it, because we don't have resources, or it's just, because there's not city staff that's really in charge of doing this, or
Well, we
things
have
like
a
that,
PR
too.
team, we do.
Do they have their own funding, do you know, or do they just meet to talk about what they're doing without their own funding?
Well, what they're doing to promote their, you know, the different, you know, whether it's a police initiative that's going on, or, you know, whatever. There was a meeting, I think,
So is that just departmental staff
yes.
that has volunteer, you know?
It's
so-
not volunteer,
or-
no, there's, I think, somebody from each department on the PR team, and then, IT.
But the PR team is not outside of departmental structure
No.
team. It is.
No, because then we would have a
integrated from these-
communications department, Mark,
Okay, well,
which we don't.
we
We
don't
don't have a communicate, is there a director that facilitates all the PR people, or is it just,
Is it
Everybody.
HR? I
like,
don't know.
who is in charge of the PR team? Is
So
it-
we're experiencing a broader City of
This
Green Bay
is-
challenge.
Yeah, I really
That's-
think
that's
we need
what that
to
is.
wrap this
Okay.
Yeah.
discussion up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I
Um,
think it is a broader issue, though, than just trying to go through Public Works to do this, so, or the commission.
Yeah, I think it's a great point raised, and I hope that, I hope it helps impact the greater conversation.
Well, you need more
Thank you.
information, like from the neighborhood associations, like, you know, that was another thing we had talked, and I don't know if that's something that we have to go through with the department, but, you know, they have, the neighborhood leadership group meets every
Mhm.
other month, the
Right.
first Thursday, you know, for a dinner. And then they have an agenda, and then they have speakers. Now, I don't know if that's something that
Right when I started joining.
we could look at and say, somebody from sustainability could be there as a representative of the city,
Mhm.
or do we have to have DPW and then us?
I think it depends on what you're talking about and what
Yeah.
level of knowledge you're,
Well, I'm
you know what I
thinking
mean? I think it
if
kind of
they-
just depends. If
if
they
you-
have questions and a sustainability commission
Well,
member is going.
informational, I mean, it would be, you would be talking about the plan, but also, the 2050 plan. I think that, we should push the idea
Yeah.
out to folks. I think a lot of people know it's there, but there's a lot
Sure.
that don't know it's there.
Right.
Just informational, like, hey, we passed this,
Mhm.
and these are our goals. We're looking at 4% over 27 years to get to
Mhm.
this point. What can we do? And I think people can lock into, when you break it up into increments, rather
Sure.
than, like, oh my God, we got 30 years to do this, how are we gonna do it?
Right.
I like the approach that we
Yeah.
have. So if you could tell that to some of the neighborhood associations, they might go, well, yeah,
Mhm.
we could maybe lock into that or with an event or different things.
Sure.
That's all. I think that would be a good
Yeah.
start.
So that could be an avenue to
an
access some
avenue.
of
So-
that.
Mhm.
That'd be, I'm not an expert on everything, but I'd be willing to
Mhm.
hang in on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Who's meeting when we're doing that
So
one
we-
thing?
I'll approach the group on that. We're having a meeting of our new group, our new neighborhood association on Monday,
Mhm.
and we could talk about that just as an
Yeah.
internal thing.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I mean, I don't see a problem with it. I know city staff go to those meetings.
Yeah, they
I mean,
do.
like, I've been to those meetings where it's all the neighborhood associations,
Yeah,
to.
it's just a dinner
Yeah.
and then they have an agenda.
Well, it was virtual when I was doing it, so I don't know if they do it virtually anymore, but.
All right,
yeah.
well, that's just an idea.
Mhm.
That could be good.
No, I think so.
I can pursue that with them.
And if you'll ever want to come to the Downtown Neighborhood Association meeting, we meet at Anchor Coffee
Oh,
once a month.
coffee shop.
Yeah, so come on down, I'll put you on the agenda.
All right.
Any other thoughts then? I think we are getting at some bigger issues here, but I do appreciate the conversation. I think this is, this is good to work through. But anything else on this?
Need to adopt it, or just, is this informational at this point?
It's
What does this
informational.
mean? What does this mean? Explore options for sustainability-related notifications through email.
That's like the Notify Me tab that the city has, where you can sign up to be notified of
Mhm.
whether it's park events or whatever topic you choose. And I don't know if you're doing that already or somebody in DPW with certain communications, but perhaps it kind of ties into that sustainable umbrella. So anytime like you might have something or another department, they could send it to this one resource for people to get notified of, like the flood mitigation study.
Okay.
No
You know
more
what I mean?
May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
May
emails are
starting, all
available
of
now.
that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can do that and just put in keywords of what you want to be notified on, or if it has to be a specific program.
I think you have to check the box, which
Okay.
program, and maybe it is that people just have to check each individual box, but maybe they could
Right.
just check one sustainability related box, so that they're kind of getting all the information from one resource.
Sure.
And then, like, when we go to events, we could collect email addresses to,
Or have them sign up or
I
something.
mean,
Right.
that would be important, yeah, have them sign up through it and then.
right,
Show them how to do it.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's like big agenda items like that go to council,
Right.
like, to notify them that this is
Sure.
on the council meeting or something like that,
Yeah. Does that, and then the notify, because I don't know if it's the same thing, but, whenever there's certain agendas that are published, I get an auto notification.
Yeah.
And you can sign up for that on the website too.
Yeah.
So if it's
So-
the same mechanism,
Yeah.
So we said it's very vague, explore, we just don't know what's really possible and if there's something, could be something better. Because, getting like a notice for an agenda, it could be different than, hey, this agenda item is on the thing.
right, that's what I'm
Like,
wondering.
Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
And maybe it includes the Sustainability Commission agenda as a
Mhm.
notification,
Right.
things
it's all
like
things
that.
you deem that you want people to know about sustainability.
But that would, are you
Sign up
saying
for
then
Normal
like,
May.
like
Right.
staff would send out the notify, or just they would be notified if they signed up for it? I guess I'm wondering,
There
is
would
it,
be somebody, some staff person who has to coordinate what's
The
getting
list,
put
email
out.
list, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like the easiest job ever.
And it's probably more effective
more
than
fun.
the Facebook,
Yes,
probably, because
exactly.
it's a city-run way of communicating to people. It's, I don't know what it costs for us to do that, but I imagine it's not a whole lot since we already have the system set up, software, that type of thing. So I think it could be a great way to reach out to people, to notify them of things.
Is that something like if you're tabling at Leopold Days and have a clipboard, people could sign up there too and then be like, oh yeah, I want to.
I don't think we know, because we don't know
Yeah.
what that, we don't know what option through sustainability or the we don't know what the system is to do this.
Right.
The mechanism.
Cool.
So, I mean, ideally, it would be nice to just collect people's emails and sign them up for them, because that would be very easy. Sometimes when you try to sign them up, you could have a laptop and have them sign right there too,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's really easy.
I mean, yeah,
For
in
sure.
the, in
That's
the
what I would do.
nonprofit advocacy
Any-
world, that's
Yes.
pretty.
Get them to do it right there.
Yep, that's what you do,
Or-
that's why you table.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a great idea to explore.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be good. What was because you said, there was something the other week that you said there was a deadline for it. It wasn't back in February. It isn't, sorry. We can keep moving forward.
Cool. Anything else on this section then?
So controversial, Mark. On your
So
last
it-
meeting.
I guess, then it goes
Yeah, I
back
guess
to the
there's
question
a lot
is,
of
what are we
fun
doing
too.
with this right now? Anything, or are we waiting until next month to, because if you want to present it to city council, shouldn't we have some motion to adopt it as our plan?
It
Or I don't think we're in
shouldn't go
that
to
plan.
city council until after the new city council
Right,
is.
in May,
I
that's what we're
mean,
looking at.
we also have a couple edits too. We could just like table it, do the edits, and then approve it in the April meeting, and then from the April meeting, just send it to city council, and then also have like an accompanying slideshow with it.
Yeah, I guess it's a
Then I don't have to
discussion.
do it by Friday. And y'all can look at it and make sure that that reflected our conversation. If y'all want to send me edits like in the next couple days from our conversation.
So we're not
for
gonna
your
have a
section.
motion to receive and place on file right now with this.
Yeah, we can do it, just
Well,
table it maybe, or we can
No, we
receive
don't want
it.
to table it.
Is it-
Table it or hold it.
Hold it, yeah, hold until April.
It wasn't an action item anyway, it
It's
was
not
just
an, yeah,
discussion.
it's not an action item.
It's not, it's,
It's
Oh, then we
it's
can just-
informational.
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, I can do an edited version by Friday too. That's fine, whatever makes sense.
Coffee. Red coffee.
Seth was used to that, it's an election year, so you don't get much
I'm
sleep
just
anyway.
gonna say edits will be
I'm working during this meeting.
added to
That's why I
draft
keep on getting
document
postcards from
and
League of
and
Conservation.
brought back
League.
in the April, brought back in the April
Will
meeting.
that work out better with those
Today,
columns you
today.
said?
Yes.
Because you
Yeah,
have
if you
three
can, if you can
pages.
figure it out, I did
Oh,
not
I'm-
put that document
I'm
I'm
together.
reformatting it right now.
Okay.
Good.
That's why I'm like on my computer, because I'm just doing it during the meeting.
I don't have my glasses.
All right.
So are we going to receive and place on file then? Or hold?
Well, it's informational, so.
You don't have to take any action.
You
No,
don't,
we
it
don't
can
have
just
to
be
take any
listed as a
action.
regular action item
Okay.
on the
The
next
next-
agenda.
Yeah.
All right, good
Yeah,
deal.
you could do that.
And then to prepare for our presentation to council in like May or whenever, I will create a template slideshow and plug in, just some different things. Maybe do the clean energy one as an example and send to everybody to do, your 2-3 slides on your section. And we can look at that in April as well. That sounds good. Alrighty then, cool. Well, onward and upward. Yeah, and thank you, everybody for just a lot of really good information and good discussion here. This is, a lot of really great goals, great ideas, and we outgrew our old format, which is a great problem to have. All right, so on to Melissa's agenda report.
Did anyone have any questions on what I put in the agenda?
No questions. Great to see the East River Flood Solutions Survey. I'm gonna share that.
Thank you. I'm glad. Hopefully we'll get some good feedback on that.
How is the survey going?
We have about 20 responses right now. It's on Facebook. It's been, regular posts on Facebook for it, so.
That would be good for Notify Me.
One thing I don't know if it's possible if you could, whoever, who posts it on Facebook, who's the administrator for your Public Works Facebook?
No, it's through the city's Facebook and Public Works and Parks. It's across many different, multiple city Facebook pages.
Sure, so you could always ask the administrator, whoever's in charge, give you metrics of the insights about how many people see your post and how many people engage with it.
She does that.
Okay.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, I think a lot of the departments share other departments' initiatives and things, so.
Have you had any good candidates for the energy outreach and engagement specialist?
We were holding interviews this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We've had a really good response.
Good.
Great.
Yeah. So that's all I can say about that.
Well, if there are no more questions, move on to announcements from the team. Anybody?
I would share an upcoming event. So for those of you who are familiar with New North, economic development group, my organization is partnering with them to do an ESG summit on May 2nd. So if you're interested, just touches a ton of business and particularly heavy manufacturing. So just a really good opportunity, kind of getting that conversation going regionally, even just with the crossover with the energy plan and stuff. That's an exciting development for me, seeing more businesses
And what is
expressing
the
interest.
name of the group, or the name of the meeting?
The name of the meeting
New North and
is,
Wisconsin Sustainability
yeah,
Business
it's
Council.
New North ESG Summit.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, my organization is
I have that.
helping develop it, but
Okay.
it's a New North event.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Cool. Other announcements?
If anybody wants a tour of Renard Island, we were going to do it this Friday, but there's snow forecast. We will be doing it next week, Wednesday at 10 o'clock, actually interviewing, giving a chance for the goat herders to come out and take a look at the island. So cool. We have a bid out there. If you know anybody who has goats, we have a request for bids out on the county's website
Wow.
I love it.
to have them mow the island sometime.
That's awesome.
You have a-
Chew down the island this year.
Have a vehicle to get them
Career
over,
change.
like boats, or they have to swim over?
We've got a causeway. There's a
Oh,
road
the
all the way
causeway.
out to the
I
island.
haven't been out there. I'm on a touch.
I've taken the truck all the way to the top, Yeah, so it's at 10 o'clock next Wednesday. If you're not doing anything, come on out and we'll show you around a little bit as well. See what the vision is.
Cool. Other announcements?
NOMO May registration opened up last week, and it closes May 1st.
Is it only through Facebook to register?
No, you register on the city's website.
Okay, I must
The
have clicked the
posts are
wrong
on
thing.
Facebook,
Okay,
and then if you click on the post, you can get, it'll take you right to the webpage to do that. It's through request for service, so you do need to be a City of Green Bay resident. It will not take any outside addresses, so.
If you already have a sign.
You have a sign,
You
reuse.
mention that, but you mention that from your.
Right.
Yep.
Please
Okay.
register, but reuse your sign.
Yeah,
Yep.
right,
Yep.
right.
Rain barrels, we are planning on launching registration for rain barrels for 2 weeks in April, so keep an eye on the website for that and the Facebook posts for that. It'll be open for a 2-week time frame to register, and it'll be a lottery system like last year.
How many are there?
About 416 to be exact, because that's how many fit on a truck.
I'll try that one too. I just go
Because I
through
registered
normal
through the
way.
City. No.
City of
Yeah.
Green Bay's website.
It's got a bigger truck.
Yeah, that should work, right?
Yeah.
Well, if
Cool.
it goes,
Other
okay,
announcements?
if it goes to this website, this is interesting.
All right, next meeting, April 17th, 5 PM. It's a Wednesday.
That's weird.
With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
By Julia, is there a second? By Alder Stoyer. All right, all those,
One of my last
the last
official
motion.
actions. Want that one?
Yeah, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
What? What was that?
All those opposed, sing a song for the road. All right, adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. So back to.
Okay, I didn't want this on the record, but is it a crazy idea to float the organic waste out? Oh.
Are we still recording?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me turn it off. Hang on.
Oh,
I got you.
what'd you say?
Okay, so that.
Recording stopped.
If you go to.
We don't need like a.
It's nice that that's
situation
audible.
under here.
Yeah, right.
Line below that.